What is up, everybody? Welcome back here to the Devy Rankings YouTube channel. We're talking Devy today. We're talking freshman rankings. We're diving into the 2027 class, the new freshman in college football. As the freshman and as the college football season is about to start and the freshmen get on the field, we're going to be telling you guys who you should be watching. Who are some guys out there, if you haven't done your rookie drafts yet, going into college fantasy that you should be kind of paying attention to, and who are our consensus top right now. These things change. They're very fluid. But here's what we have. Here's where we have at quarterback. Dylan Raiola from Nebraska is at our 1. Julian Sayin at Ohio State. DJ Lagway. Luke Kromenhoek from Florida State. Jaden Davis. CJ Carr. Walker Wright. Ethan Grunkemeyer. Aaron Nolan. And Ryan Puglisi from Georgia. The thing I will say about the quarterback class, there are a lot of unknowns about this class. And there are a lot of iffy, I don't know where they're at. You're going to see some guys outside the top 10 definitely vault into the top 5 next year. I would be sure of it, especially if they get some playing time. Because when you look at this list, Dylan Raiola is going to get playing time, maybe Julian Sayin and Lagway. But outside of that, it's hard to see any of these other guys pushing for playing time. So you're definitely going to see kind of some different kind of areas of hey, maybe some guys come up. We see guys like, hey, remember CJ Stroud? He wasn't very sought after as a freshman either. And then he kind of popped off and had a good year, obviously his junior year. But we see these guys definitely fluctuate. We've talked about Devy quarterbacks and the rankings. But the two guys I definitely want to kind of harp on, Dylan Raiola out there in Nebraska, he is probably winning that job. By all accounts, I know that his head coach, Matt, has basically been slow playing it. Oh, it's a competition. It's a competition. But it seems like it's Dylan's competition. 6'3", 220, came in at number 2 quarterback. 5-star kid at 247 Sports, is a very, very solid quarterback. And it looks like he's going to be taking over Nebraska squad that when you look at the schedule, man, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, they could be undefeated going into Ohio State in the middle of the year. There is a chance that Nebraska has the talent, and if Dylan can kind of separate himself a little bit, that they could maybe bring Nebraska back, right? And from just a receiving standpoint out there, Jalen Lloyd, Isaiah Neyor, Jamal Banks, Malachi Coleman is still there. So there's opportunity there. They have Gabe Ervin, Ramir Johnson, Emmett Johnson out there running back. So they do have talent there. And Raiola looks okay when we're talking about the spring game, right? So I just wanted to show a little bit of him. Not a ton of the highlights here, but I think they're going to do a good job. Thomas Fedona second is another tight end that I really like. I think he can get some run there. He does a really good job, Raiola, of getting outside the pocket and making things happen on the run. That's one area of him. And he gets the comms to Mahomes because he looks like Mahomes, but he's a very good pocket passer. And he's going to get the ball out quick. There was some great throws on his tape from the spring game. There was some throws here, but he's not afraid to kind of get it down the field. You'll see it here. Great throw to the corner of the end zone, a touchdown. Something Nebraska didn't have. Nebraska did not have a really any good quarterback play last year. I mean, we're going to keep it 100 on this channel. They really struggled in that era. And if they have him, they could really take this offense to the next level. I mean, Dylan is the type of player that can do that. You'll see it here, be able to step in the pocket. He's going to get it to his playmakers. Matt Rhule's an amazing coach. I think he's going to be able to scheme Dylan the ways that he needs to be schemed. Hey, get the ball out quick, make those quick decisions. And if you have Dylan in Devy, if you have him in some type of format out there, you're probably pretty happy with what he could bring to the table. And he's going to start. He's going to start early. Those are the things that you really like to see from a quarterback of that class. Now, Julian Sayin is the next guy. And when we're talking about Julian Sayin and looking at him, he is an absolute stud. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I absolutely love Julian Sayin. I hate it because I'm a Michigan fan through and through. But talent is talent. And I would be shocked if he didn't get on the field this year in some way. I know he got his black stripe off early. He's looked very, very good in practices. I know Will Howard just won the starting job, and really all Will Howard doesn't have to do is turn the ball over. If he just throws it 12 times a game, I think Ohio State's going to win every single game outside of Michigan. Julian Sayin, though, could get on the field. And I think that is one of those things that he's a player to watch. I think next year he is the starter. I think he's going to earn that starting role, and then that's going to really help his value. And it would take a lot of something drastic to happen for him and Dylan not to be 1-2 next year as we're talking about these rankings. Now, at the running back spot, Quentin Martin Jr. from Penn State, Taylor Tatum at Oklahoma, Nate Frazier at Georgia, James Peoples at Ohio State, Jared Gibson at Texas, Jordan Marshall, Michigan, Matthew Fuller, USC, Cam Davis, Kwan Lacey, and then Kendron Young. Now, a couple things about these rankings. I think that you should know that when we're talking about these guys, this is consensus. This isn't mine, so please don't yell at me. Also, Matthew Fuller is at USC, South Carolina, not USC, the real USC. I don't want to make South Carolina fans out there. But these are consensus rankings, right? So these are where some guys have maybe Taylor a little higher or Jared Gibson, who's going to have a big opportunity out there at Texas this year. But the guy that's kind of risen up the boards, Quentin Martin Jr. I mean, when you're looking at him from a prospect, number 8 rate running back coming into the class, 4-star kid, had a really, really good spring game out there for Penn State. And they've been talking about him doing very, very well out there. It's hard to see a pathway to playing time with, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen out there, but he could get some spot runs. He's good size, good frame. So right now, based on consensus, that's where he's at. You don't want to overhype the spring game, but he did definitely look good. And I think there's an opportunity for him possibly to get in there this year and put playing time on a team that has playoff aspirations. The next guy, though, is Jared Gibson. Jared Gibson, when you're going into the numbers and you're looking at what he did at IMG, not huge numbers out there, right? 5'10", 205, but he comes in ready to play, and that's important because Texas just lost 2 of their running backs that were ahead of him, right? So, CJ Baxter going down for the year, Trey Wester also going down for the year, and now you're looking at it and you're just like, hey, who's that guy, right? Who's that guy for them? Jaden Blue is probably that guy. I absolutely love Jaden Blue. I've talked about Jaden Blue as being a sleeper for a while, but when you're thinking of like, hey, who's next? Honestly, it's Jared Gibson. Jared Gibson can definitely be that guy for them, and he can really step up and be maybe their running back 1A to 1B to Jaden Blue before the end of the year. They're going to need him. They're going to lean on him. He could see definitely a value change and a bump up if he gets that playing time, like many projected him to do. Now, wide receivers, where are we at with our top 10? Everybody's got Jeremiah Smith at 1. That's pretty consensus. Micah Hudson, again, Texas Tech, number 2. Ryan Williams, I think, is going to be an absolute stud out there at Alabama. TJ Moore, Clemson, again, if K. Clemson can do anything above average, TJ Moore is going to be a big, big riser. JoJo Trader out there in Miami, Cam Coleman at Auburn, Miley Graham at Ohio State, Perry Thompson, Mike Matthews, and Ryan Wingo out there. Now, the guy that I want to talk about is JoJo Trader. I see JoJo a little bit. So I see some talks about JoJo out there in the Devy community. And again, we don't really, in terms of Devy and Devy rankings and Devy values, we're pretty different when it comes to our rankings, right? Like we have JoJo probably higher than most people, but the reason why is because he's just an elite damn athlete, right? When you're looking at him out there, he's just special. Like he just has high level catches. He bursts, vision, open field, all of those things. He's an athlete. And I do think Miami's been looking for a guy like this when you're talking about what they have out there. And I think he can get on the field this year. I think JoJo can definitely, go there. I think they have Samuel Brown transfer. Obviously, Xavier Restrepo is their guy. Nikar is out there. He's another true freshman out there. But I think JoJo can get out there. And I think that they're going to try to get him the ball in different ways. I love JoJo Trader from that mindset. And when you're watching him, I mean, we're not going to watch a ton of it, but he is just an elite level athlete, right? And he's the type of guy who's going to go get the football. I think he fits really well with Cam Ward, the quarterback out there in Miami, because Cam's just going to let his playmakers go get it. And I tell you what, JoJo was one of those playmakers, right? You see it here, the 50-50 balls, goes up and gets it. It's hard to say that Miami has a better athletic wide receiver on this roster. I know Xavier's out there, but man, JoJo could really separate and be that guy. And you see them. I think the thing is that they're creative, the way to get to the football. I mean, you see it here, his ability to throw it. Look at that arm. Not bad there. So he's just a playmaker. And Miami's going to need that. I think that Miami really has a chance to really compete for the ACC this year. I think that level, we kind of dove into them recently on our top 25 series. They have a shot. I think with him, with Cam Ward being there, able to push the football down the field and not afraid to make the plays that they need to make. This is where JoJo excels right here. Route running made that dude fall. If he just had a quarterback that could lead him, he was going to have a touchdown right there. But that's him. That's going to separate this Miami offense. I do believe that. And if they just say, hey, we're just going to go give it to you, JoJo can make a play. And I think that JoJo is probably the most underrated wide receiver in Devy right now at his class, because I don't think he's getting rated where we have him. And I think that he's a value out there. He's someone that you can go grab. And then the other guy is Cam Coleman. I know we talked about him, 5-star kid, absolute dominating. I think the problem with that is, like, I think Auburn hit on every single guy that they got wide receiver wise, right? I think Kendra Labor Smith, transfer. I think Robert Lewis transfer. Sam Jackson's really good. Perry Thompson's really good. Cam's really good. Problem is they have Peyton Thorne at quarterback. And so I don't know how much it's going to matter. I think that whoever they transfer in next year to, really take this and maybe be an SEC title contender, I think that's going to really see it. But I think we're going to see enough out of Cam Coleman, like, damn, on tape, this kid is a stud. And I think that his Devy value is definitely going to go up from there. Now, the tight end positions, listen, I don't like ranking tight ends in Devy because I don't think they matter, because I think you can trade. I think that there's so much volatility that you can kind of move off of them if you need to. But The one guy that has been getting a little love. Now, Caleb Odom technically is a tight end / wide receiver. So it does seem like they're going to probably play him at wide receiver. But Caleb Odom at Alabama is a name to know because, we've talked about Ryan Williams a ton on here, but he is crushing camp right now. Caleb Williams is out there crushing camp. I know that, when you're looking at the, Tide Illustrated and they're going to go over the guy that they've mentioned is Odom, right? They moved in the wide receiver there. DeBoer loves him. They love what he can do. They love him being kind of the X receivers in practice. So you see that very well. They've been impressed. Like the coaching staff said, hey, we love what he's been able to do. So that's a name to watch because if he's a wide receiver now, I think he's a value. I don't think he's getting drafted in any of the drafts that I did, Devy drafts that I did. So go watch Caleb Odom and maybe snatch him up if there's ability. Go snatch him up. Carter Nelson's out there. Trudez Green, Luke Reynolds, and going to Penn State. I don't mind targeting Penn State tight ends. It's not a bad strategy to have. Betancourt out there in Clemson, but overall, to me, it's Caleb, right? The highlight is him, what he's been able to do. 4-star kid, 6 tight end, but from a wide receiver perspective, getting out there at the X, really looking good in practice. That's a guy that you guys should know, Caleb Odom. So get that on the radar. Now, for the rest, the ones that we didn't make the list right away, but you should watch. I think Isaac Wilson has a chance. I think at Utah, Cam Rising's going to be there. But I do think that, Isaac is the next guy up. They really like this kid. Obviously, Zach Wilson's brother. He is a very, very solid quarterback prospect. So he's one to watch. Will Hammond as well. I love him in that offense. Kevin Riley and Daniel Hill have a chance, the 2 Alabama kids, to really rise up boards if that Alabama running back room, they get some opportunity. Jaden Ba, Johan Cardenas. I've been writing about him for months. I wrote about him almost like 3 or 4 months ago from Vanderbilt. Maybe get some run this year. Draylon Miller, Nick Marsh. I did a video on kind of like a deeper Devy jive. If you want to go check that out, I did a 2020 just a rookie freshman mock, and I talked about Nick Marsh in Michigan State. He's got some interesting tape. Basketball kid, little raw, but hey, he might be a fun sleeper out there, deep sleeper. Darius Farmer, I know that Andy Pham is going to be writing an article about him, and he really likes him from West Virginia, so go check him out. And Nye Carr, other true freshman in Miami, who could definitely rise up boards there. So that's our watch list for the guys that you should be paying attention to. But I'd be remiss without, mentioning this. We do have a Patreon where we definitely have all of our different content goes on there. Mostly, the one big thing that I think that, people should be aware of, we have a combined Devy and Dynasty rankings. So what we've done is we made trade values for every single asset out there, and it's combined all the way through. So you want to know what, Cam Coleman is to the Dynasty, asset, we have that. We also have a Dynasty Devy trade calculator. You use our calculator, go in to put trades that you want for Devy. You can even use it for college fantasy, to be honest with you, and diving in to say, hey, what are those values? That's all $5, plus our Substack, Discord, all of that. So go check that out. Our Patreon's in the description below. We can't do this without any support from you guys, and we appreciate all the support we have here on YouTube and the Patreon. But go check out our Patreon. We'd really appreciate you maybe subbing for a month, see how you like it. And if you don't, hey, no hard feelings, but go check it out. I think you guys are really, really happy with the product that we produce.